My, oh my, what an interesting beginning to 2026. It is very tempting to be completely swept up in the Venezuela situation, and we are consuming more than our fair share of CNN and the New York Times on that subject. But when it comes to the first 2026 episode of Faithful Resistance, which happens to be episode 26, we are staying local. At Jefferson Unitarian Church, the home of this podcast, we have an active social justice group that has its origins working with Mayan middle and high school students in Guatemala, but is now expanding its scope to partner with the vulnerable right here in Colorado. And I hope you're as inspired by the calm presence and steely passion of Gretchen May and June LeCrone as I am. We are so happy today to welcome from Jefferson Unitarian Church, Gretchen May and June LeCrone, who are both super active in what one might call support for the vulnerable, which is largely an immigrant support team. Welcome, both of you, June and Gretchen. Gretchen, you've been doing this the longest time. I'd like to start with you. Tell me a little bit about the difference between support for the vulnerable and immigrant protection team, and really what, in your heart of heart, the mission of these groups is.
Support for the vulnerable is all-encompassing because there are so many people, immigrants, trans people, and there will be activists who are threatened in our community. And we want to find ways to essentially be ahead of the curve and try to find ways to support people when they're threatened, and whoever they may be. And so that means connecting people in the congregation with all different kinds of resources to do that, whether it be Know Your Rights trainings or trainings to do ICE Watch or trainings to do community defense on every level, and also support for people who are detained once they are detained. So
there are so many things, and it's a long list of things that you do, I think. Really long list. And it's been largely immigrant rights support so far, hasn't it?
It has been. I mean, that's the main focus, but within the immigrant rights, I mean, when at the GEO, there's a detention center in Aurora. So at the GEO detention center, there are a number of trans immigrants who are detained, and they get worse treatment. And so there are people who specifically focus on visiting them and trying to make sure they have legal protection. So that's part of what, we're connecting people with. It's just part of the bigger picture.
Okay. Speaking of bigger picture, June, I know this is something that seems to be quite close to your heart, or the vigils at the GEO Detention Center. And we've been talking about them for months. What is the focus now of the vigils at the GEO Detention Center?
So the vigils have been a way for people in the community to show up and to show that we support the people who are in detention, that we care about them, that we are thinking about them, praying for them, doing what we can to stay connected with them, to give them information. We go, we sing, we pray. The people there are very responsive to just this act of recognition of their rights and their dignity. So that's been a very impactful activity that we've done, along with many other groups and organizations and churches in the area. So
yeah, give me an idea, June, of when you go. I'm sure you can't go every single time, or maybe you can. What you see on the other side of what? A fence? Windows? What do you see?
We can stand outside. There are windows, but they're not clear glass. You cannot see the people inside, but you can see their shadows. So people may be at the windows. They may be pressing their hands up to the windows. We know that they are there. We know that they're present. We know that they know that we are supporting them. And so it's a very meaningful and emotional connection.
Personally, what does it mean to you to be there?
It both makes me sad and fills my heart that we're connecting. It's it's an extremely emotional thing to see and to know that people are imprisoned and they don't know what their fate is going to be, and they don't understand, even that they've done anything wrong, that they've just been trying to follow a process. So it's extremely emotional in both a sad and a fulfilling way.
And I wonder, what is it, perhaps in your Unitarian Universalist faith or way of looking at life, that gets you to do this work?
So Gretchen and I have been working for years with a group in Guatemala who have suffered under government regimes that treated them poorly. So we were aware of things like this happening in other countries. I didn't think I would see it so close to home. I am continually shocked this is happening, and I just feel a real need to do something, to do my small part.
Gretchen, you've been doing this for years, and so I'll ask you the same question. What is it in your life that leads you down this path of activism and support for people less fortunate?
I guess I've always felt that we are actually, Guatemala is a good example. I mean, the conditions in Guatemala for the people that we support there are, the U.S. government had a great deal to do with that, with creating those terrible conditions. And they really assisted the different governments that were so harsh on people. And we're part of that. And we have a responsibility. And I feel like we're connected to everybody. And when those people are suffering, it affects us, and we're suffering. I don't feel that I can go about my life without being aware of that. I can't shed that. And as June said, this brings it so close to home. It's unbelievable for us that it can be so similar, because the treatment inside is really terrible. And, one of the things that can happen to people who respond when there's a vigil is that they could be, if they're too responsive to us, they may end up in a solitary confinement situation. So they're taking a risk even just responding to our support. And so all of those things, and the injustice, the fact that almost all of them are not, almost none of them are criminals, let's put it that way. And even the ones who have a record, it's more like, a traffic violation, or there are very few detainees who actually have a criminal record, and which raises that question of, who are the immigrants? We were all once immigrants, and are there any good immigrants and bad immigrants? That's something that comes up, and the answer from my point of view is that there aren't any bad immigrants. There are people who go the wrong way, but there aren't bad immigrants. They all deserve their rights. So that's, I just feel like we have to do what we can do.
I know that Know Your Rights, that's a lovely segue you just made there, is another effort that you make through the JUC work. I don't know which of you wants to talk about Know Your Rights. Is that you, June? What do you do to, would you explain that and what help you need?
Okay, so Know Your Rights is a way to let people in the community know what their rights are. If I should be in their area, show up at their home or their business, we have what we call red cards, which list the rights that people have as both citizens and immigrants. If I should come to their home, their facility, how they can respond, what they don't have to respond to. And so early on, we started distributing those cards in communities where people might be targeted. And we've also expanded that to businesses, so that business owners will know what their rights are if I should come to their business. And we've really encouraged everyone in our congregation to to spread the word. We all know people who may be vulnerable, who may know people who are vulnerable to attack. And so we've really tried to spread the word that people do have rights. And if people know what their rights are, that gives them power.
I wonder what, in businesses specifically, what kind of reaction you get from business people or people at the front desk or whoever you encounter.
Gretchen, would you like to answer that one?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think for the most part, business people are glad to have the information. They're relieved to know that there is a system in place. They're relieved to know that they can do something to support their employees, their customers. And, people are really uncertain about what's going to happen next. And so I think when people get some information, it really helps the entire community be prepared, be ready. We don't know what's going to happen next, but we want everybody to feel like they have a sense of power and dignity and that they will be respected. So I think most people are really receptive to the information.
It dawns on me that as we have this discussion and we are referring to know your rights, I'm not sure I know what those rights are. And we don't have time to go through a huge list, but at the top, what's at the top of that list of what rights a person or a business should know?
That you don't have to surrender someone unless you have a signed warrant from a judge. You don't have to let people into private spaces. You don't have to answer questions. So those are the basic ones that you can prohibit people from intruding into your private space.
Okay. Gretchen, I believe you have mentioned in the past that there's a new effort that's underway that's called Community Defense Initiative. Would you talk a bit about that and how that may make a difference to people?
Yeah, we hope it will. This is modeled on, there's been a lot of people, well, there have been people from here talking to the groups in places like Chicago and LA where they have already had ICE right in the neighborhoods. And so it's called We Keep Us Safe. And that would be, if you want to know more about it, I'm going to talk about it, but there is a website, which is wkus-co.org. And that will lead you to the trainings that will be coming up. There'll be ongoing trainings. And the purpose is to organize and inform people in the community about what they can do if ICE appears in the community. And that includes people who are not impacted right now. So people like us in communities like ours that are mostly white, we still are going to be in places, particularly businesses, and particularly when we're shopping or in neighborhoods where there are many more impacted people. And the basic premise is that everyone's carrying a whistle. There's a signal for whether ICE is in vehicles or whether they're on the ground. And the people who are impacted get back in their houses or somewhere safe as fast as possible. The people who are not make as much noise as possible, blow the whistles and keep making noise. That's sort of the basic premise. But it's an ongoing process to figure out what it is that we can do and when it's appropriate for white people, white allies, to go into neighborhoods that are impacted and provide them with more support. And so that's part of what the training is going to be, particularly out here in the western suburbs. And so anyhow, and there will be training. So I'll be informing people about that.
When you bring up the thing about us Caucasians going into neighborhoods, the whole, I don't know how to put this other than white savior mentality. How do you deal with, Are we helping? Are we saving? What are we doing? And how appropriate is it that we're doing this work?
Yeah, and so we're being really careful about that. This has come out in the Denver area. This is coming out. So there's the Colorado Immigrant Partnership Team, and originally they were called the Colorado Immigrant Protection Team, and for that very reason, the name was changed, because we're not here to protect. We're here to partner with people who are impacted and give them the support that they need to be able to hopefully avoid detention and continue their lives. And so out of the Colorado Immigrant Partnership Teams and their alliance with other organizations, the American Friends Service Committee is very involved. The Colorado Immigrant Rights Team Coalition, CIRC, is very involved, and working together and making connections with neighborhood community organizations in the impacted neighborhoods and following their lead. When are they ready? What is it that they need? What kind of support do they need? And not just descending on a community and saying, here we are, because that's exactly the problem. And I think I trust the people who are leading this effort to make those connections and guide us. I think that's what the trainings are for. This isn't something for people to go out and do sporadically on their own. I think it's really important to go through the training and really understand what you can and can't do appropriately.
When someone finds out that you do this work, just maybe even in casual conversation, I don't know, over the holidays at a dinner, wherever, and you say what you do, and they say, how can I get involved? What do you tell them? Especially the conflict averse among us who still want to do something to help.
Within JUC, we trust that the people there at least would like to be allies. So then they fall into the category you're talking about. They don't want to get involved. There's a lot of work that can be done, because on the level of policy and practice on the part of governmental agencies and corporations, there are a lot of really terrible things going on. And in the end, legislation can make a difference, and policy can. And that's why SB 276, for instance, was so important, because it forces businesses and governmental entities to have a policy about how they will respond if ICE requests information. And the most important thing is that they do not give out information that should be private. They don't give out, the DMV shouldn't be giving out information from license plates and from driver's license renewals and so forth. So what people can do who don't want to get involved in the community, out in with their own personal presence, is to write or call and just put pressure on elected officials, corporations, follow the boycotts. And there's a lot of information that we send out, and I send out almost every week about what the most recent actions are and can be.
And June, those who are willing to go out there and just haven't made the move yet, what do you say to them? What are the opportunities at JUC, for example, to do the work?
There are several opportunities. One of those is to participate in Court Watch, where we just go down to the courts in Denver and hand out information to families who are coming in for their court dates, sitting in courtrooms and being a witness to what is going on. That's easy to do, and I found if I go with a partner, it's even easier. And it's a 2-hour commitment. People can write postcards to people in detention. People can give money to help pay for the materials and trainings and those sorts of things. So there's some easy ways to be involved. And as Gretchen said, if everyone does something, it will make a difference. And if everyone does something to influence our leadership to push them to help fix this terrible situation that we're in. I think it's a lot of people doing something will make a huge difference.
Well, you two have done a whole lot of something for a long time. You have put so much of your lives into this. We appreciate all the work that you do, and I hope we can check in again sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
As 2026 begins, we at Faithful Resistance want to draw the circle wide and find more smart and determined folks to talk to about their social justice passions. You can help. You can email us with your ideas at faithfulresistance@jeffersonunitarian.org. You can share this podcast with other people of goodwill, and of course, you can subscribe. And to find ways to do your part, please check out the Faithful Resistance page at our website, jeffersonunitarian.org. And just keep on doing the next right thing. Go out, do the next right thing.